Rock concert movement number 1. The basic head bob. Ready, go.
Hi. All right. 1:30 on a rapidly cooling Thursday afternoon in the capital city. Yeah. Thanks for coming along. Happy to have you here. Phone number is 244-0077. All are welcome. Some are capable. Email radiobradshaw@gmail.com and follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw, and we'll see if the internet's actually going to work today. Place bets now. Am I the only one who remembers the show Bonsai? And thanks to the success of the Iron Chef, they started bringing like Japanese-style shows. Like Iron Chef begat Bonsai, which in turn begat Ninja Warrior. The entertainment industry, I don't know if you're aware of this, is completely out of ideas, which is why it's all, reboots and sequels and 3-5-part trilogies and stuff like that. And same way with television. Like, we got nothing. Or, actually, more to the point, the ways that we have developed TV shows no longer work. Like, go look at the first season ratings for, like, Cheers. Or even Seinfeld. If those shows were, like, going on the air today, they would be canceled in, 6 episodes. They don't stick with the struggling shows, and I still don't get to watch more Wonderfalls, and that makes me entirely too sad. Anyway, fun stuff today. More evidence of, frankly, a reality problem on the right, and for as deeply and foundationally flawed as today's Democratic Party may be, they are our only hope. They are Obi-Wan. First, though, this is fun, at least in politics. This isn't one of those news that affects people's daily lives, so most people aren't paying attention, and I absolutely understand that. And as dishonest as the whole argument is, I can understand more people turning it off, but it is a symptom of a bigger problem, and that is Chuck Hagel's confirmation as Secretary of Defense. And again, haven't talked about it much because there's really not much to talk about. There is one reason and one reason alone that Chuck Hagel is running into Republican opposition. Doesn't look like it's going to be substantial enough to actually keep him from getting confirmed, but it's certainly the Republicans are going to make a lot of smoke and a lot of noise in an effort to try to do something. And that is, the reason Chuck Hagel is being obstructed by Republicans is quite simply he is okay with cutting military spending. That's it. That's all. He's okay with cutting military spending. He's okay with not, say, invading Iraq. Every other issue that's brought up is simply a distraction, or at least in this case, an absolute figment of imagination. Republicans are trying to use the Israel hammer against him. So last week, the fine folks over at Breitbart News, two words that really shouldn't go together. Like, you can be Breitbart or you can be news. The two, not so much. But there's a lot of money, again, to be made telling rubes things they want to hear. For more information on this, please contact Roger Ailes or Rupert Murdoch. But last week, they reported that Chuck Hagel's confirmation was in part in danger because he had a connection to a group called Friends of Hamas. With that out there. It was, picked up and repeated, ends up, I'm sure, on talk radio and Fox News. Only one small problem. No one can find evidence of a group called Friends of Hamas even existing. Dave Weigel over at Slate. It's at best, it's an organization so secret that no one in government has thought to mention its existence. At worst, it's as fake as Manti Te'o's girlfriend. The Treasury Department, whose job includes designating sponsors of terrorism, doesn't have it listed. The State Department doesn't have a listing for it. And in a less official capacity, for those of you who aren't familiar with the LexisNexis database, it's pretty much, the old days, for a written transcript of this show, please call. It's basically that for all media. Everything on Fox News, everything in the New York Times. It's a pretty impressive little database. Has nothing on Friends of Hamas. Is literally made up out of thin air. But that can be used as a, oh, it sounds good, run with it. Confession. There has been less show prep this time because I am currently binging. I am a binge televisioner, or I guess in this case, binge streamer. House of Cards. Anyone else? I'm only at episode, I think, 9. I'm averaging about 3 episodes a day. So I'm just. It's a TV series that Netflix won the rights to. They produce it. They run it. It's all them. Some say that's the future of media. But, this is literally a plot point out of one of the first couple episodes. We're just going to make up something about Israel and use it against a presidential nominee. And now, life imitating art. I wonder if they got the idea from there. Just understand that anyone who stands in front of a camera or microphone or attacks Chuck Hagel, all right, for anything other than he's willing to spend less money on the military, which to the defense industry and the congresspersons that they have bought and paid for is just on this line of high crimes and misdemeanors. Actually, it's probably over the line to them. And while, yes, there are, and again, to go back to, I see that, thank you. To go back to, don't do that again. To go back to other political television. Everyone watch West Wing, right? Remember when Tom Skerritt was talking about his missile program that doesn't work, but he wants it bought anyway, and he believes that, we have to show that we're willing to spend the money on these things. So that era is over. There's no Soviet Union. There's no, imminent superpower threat who can wipe us out. We're not in an arms race with anyone. And again, it goes to show, for all the Republican bleeding about, with a T, about debt, deficit, spending, blah, 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 government doesn't create jobs. Try to close a military base in their district. Try to shut down an Air National Guard wing in their state, and you'll learn exactly what they believe about government spending and its ability to create jobs. The rest, well, is just lies. All right, Frank, what do you want?
Well, after listening to your half-hour diatribe at the end of your show yesterday, I got one question for you.
Oh, my diatribes are well over half an hour.
Do you stand in the mirror and practice being wrong, or does it just come natural?
What do you believe wrongly that I'm wrong about?
Well, okay, you went off on this diatribe yesterday about the president and John Boehner and who blew up the grand bargain.
Yeah.
And basically, the same night of the address, they had a Frontline show on PBS, which I wouldn't necessarily consider Frontline a conservative flag waver.
No.
And the narrator of not Frontline, what's his name? Ken something? I'm not sure the guy's name.
All right. According to Bob Woodward's book, the deal was on the table, and it was $4 trillion in cuts. It was Medicare cuts. It was Social Security cuts, and it was even TRICARE cuts. That's the military socialist health care program. So is Bob Woodward wrong in saying that the president put that on the table?
I don't know all the details of it, but I do know this, that the negotiations were in secret between Boehner and Obama.
Correct. This is stuff that came out
Biden,
later.
Biden, big mouth Joe Biden, who's always prone to sticking his foot in his mouth, let the cat out of the bag to Eric Cantor, and basically blew up the negotiations because once Cantor found out about it, that Boehner was negotiating with Obama behind his back, that blew it up. But
yeah,
then,
that's the separate wing. Are you a Shakespeare fan?
No.
Okay, not surprised. Imagine, as far as the GOP goes, John Boehner is Caesar, only less adequate at the job.
Okay.
Brutus here is being played by Eric Cantor,
Okay.
who represents a different wing of the Republican Party.
Sure.
And would love nothing more than the ability to take a knife, stick it in the back of John Boehner, to Eric, and take the reins of the Republican Party.
Okay, that's feasible, but here's still it begs this question.
Okay.
First off, then along comes the gang of supposed six. Well, they had a deal. Everybody, the media was reporting that there was a tentative deal, that it was all ready to be signed, it was all ready to be appropriated.
I'm not talking about a tentative deal, and I'm not a big fan of the gangs of, which is just usually an attempt by a handful of senators to kind of take over the Senate.
Sure.
In some cases, it's a gang of one, Joe Lieberman. I have no doubt that when Angus King from Maine decided to run for Senate, he was foreseeing a much closer, 49, 51, 50-50 sort of split where he could then, either straddle the line and be more of a kingmaker. But luckily, thanks to the Tea Party, that plan didn't work out. What I'm talking about is the offer put forward by the president. And it was an offer that involved, again, things that Republicans cannot touch.
Okay, but here's the bottom line.
And the most liberal, socialist, communist, Stalinist president ever offered them.
Obama is the one that blew the deal up because there was an agreement by Boehner on $800 billion in new revenue, which is taboo in the Republican Party to talk about.
So why would the president, if he's the most socialist, communist...
And demanded another $400 billion.
Okay, but Frank, you're ignoring the point. Why would the president put these on the table if he's the most socialist, leftist, anything ever?
Well, you could ask the same question. Why was Boehner putting taxes on the table when he is the most when the Republican Party is the most anti-tax party in the history of the world? I mean, obviously... Maybe
they're just following in Reagan's footsteps and raising taxes.
Obviously, there was...
But hold on. You didn't answer my question.
Well, I think I'm trying to.
If Obama is the most leftist, socialist, communist ever, all right, why was he proposing cuts to Social Security, Medicare, even TRICARE, which seems like completely out of bounds?
There's got to be some grown-ups in the room that's got to understand we got to get a hold of this situation pretty soon.
Hey, is the deficit bigger or smaller than it was 4 years ago?
Oh, I'm not going to argue that with you. I know the debt's bigger.
Well, hold on, but you're right, because there's no argument.
No, but listen, I heard somebody say the other night, traditionally our deficit, our revenue is about 19% of GDP, and we spend about 21% of GDP. Right now, our revenue is about 16% of GDP, and our spending is about 26% of GDP. So normally, on normal circumstance, we're about a 2% shortfall.
Okay.
But we're up to about a 9% shortfall now.
Hey, God, it's almost like we've gone through an economic recession or something.
Okay, but here's the problem. You're asking a question, why did Obama want to negotiate? Well, I'd ask you the same question. Why was Boehner wanting to negotiate?
Because he created an artificial conflict in the first place.
But
he created, out of thin air, a hostage situation. He decided to take a rather routine piece of bookkeeping and turn it into an affair. He wanted to negotiate. The whole point of doing it was to negotiate. So why would Obama put those things on the table?
Well, let me answer this before I forget it. The reason what blew all this deal was the Gang of Six come up with more.
I'm not talking about blowing up the deal. That's a different ballgame. That's a different argument. All right? I'm talking about the president being able, open to offering these things. Because there are way too many people on the left in Washington who have bought into the debt and deficit hysteria. Not because, and here's something you need to understand, no matter what Chuck Grassley tweets, no one in Washington actually cares about the debt or the deficit. No one.
How about me?
They see it as an opportunity, all right, to mold spending in a way that they would find preferable.
Let me ask you a question. You're president for the day. If you could go out and confiscate every dime of the wealth of the top 2% in this country, what would you do with the money? Would you apply it at the national debt, or would you fund new spending programs or existing spending programs?
Literally, I would, and we'd have to find a more efficient way of doing this. I would load up giant helicopters. You ever seen Independence Day? They have the one with the big light.
Sure, yeah.
Instead of the big light panels, all right, I would put pallets of cash, like the ones we lost in Iraq, and drop them over major metropolitan areas.
Okay, but how does that solve the national debt?
It doesn't.
How does that fund the spending program?
It doesn't. It gets people spending money, which will actually improve our economy. Yeah, I don't want to deal with we have enough real problems in this country. I don't need to deal with Chuck Grassley's manufactured problems.
But this is not a manufactured problem. When you're paying $400 billion in interest alone on the national debt yearly, that's not a problem. That's a noose around your neck that needs to be gotten rid of. That's a lot of police on the streets. That's a lot of lunch programs. That's a lot of teachers. That's a lot of something.
And when times are good, like, say, during the first half of the Bush administration, actually first, 7/8 of the Bush administration, I'm a big believer in secular spending. So if you want to make some cuts and do some drawbacks when times are good, great. But when times are bad, you need to spend money. When we have a credit crunch like we did in 2008, you got to spend money. Now, it's not going to deal with the systemic problems we have, the foundational issues, like wages being flat, which when wages are flat for most people for decades, what do you think that foretells in an economy that is 70% consumer spending driven? What do you think's going to happen?
But there is so many,
because that's the reality we live in.
There's so many factors of spending being flat and wages being flat.
No, those two are pretty well attached to one another. Meanwhile, corporate profits are back to pre-crash levels. NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, the Dow, is back to where it was. It's dancing on the 14,000 line these days.
Look,
CEO pay has not been affected. What has been affected again are the 98% of us, and we need those people spending money. So if I'm not allowed to just drop it out of a helicopter, then I'm putting that money towards a WPA 2.0, an idea I've been yelling about for years now.
Hey, that's fine. I have nothing against WPA per se.
That's something that the president brought up in his State of the Union, talking in this case about infrastructure and specifically our deficient bridges.
It's going to take all the tools in the tool bag to solve the problem. Nobody's advocating.
Yeah, so why are we trying to do it with one hand behind our back, listening to the deficit peacocks?
Because your own president, I don't know what he's posturing about. I don't know what he's out campaigning about. He set up the commission of Simpson Bowles, and then he ignores the commission.
The commission didn't issue a final report. It couldn't be voted on. I mean, it literally didn't pass the members of the Simpson Bowles.
It didn't get voted on. Try it again. I don't know, but
why?
There's got to be some grown-ups get a hold of this situation.
Why? Show me an austerity success story.
I told you
if you're going to call for austerity, show me an austerity success story.
My personal opinion that I believe it's going to take a combination of growth.
Great, but no offense, I don't care what you believe. Show me some evidence.
It's going to take a combination of revenue increases.
Okay, great, but if you're going to call for austerity, which you are, if you're dealing with the debt and the deficit, like Chuck Grassley, you're calling for austerity. Show me an austerity success story.
Well, any other
back up your claim.
Any other business or household that was.
I'm not talking about businesses or households. Okay. Show me a country. All right, because that's what we're talking about here. Show me a country.
Are we bankrupt?
No. Show me a country. We literally can't.
What is our country worth?
Whatever we want it to be. Well, I mean, that's the honest answer. What would you like it to be worth?
When your debts outweigh your assets, or at some point you got to liquidate to pay off your debts. At what point?
Okay, but we don't have to do that, especially when we're the reserve currency of the world. Now, by the way, with all the talk, what you're getting at is, you know what? At some point they're just not going to buy our debt anymore, and they're just it's going to be runaway inflation. Right, that we can borrow money. Like literally less than the rate of inflation. Like our spending costs are getting cheaper.
Okay, let me ask you.
You do know that, right?
Let me ask you a simple question.
Hold on, but hold on, Frank. Were you aware of that fact?
Look, I do not profess to be an economist, so I'm not going to try to go at you toe for toe.
I'm not an economist either. I can just read.
But I'm asking you a simple question here. What is the value of this country, and at what point does the debt outweigh the value of this country?
The debt, can't. Countries don't go bankrupt.
But they do get charged higher interest for their...
But why is our interest rate going down then?
I don't know.
I know.
Obviously, Standard & Poor's downgraded us.
Okay. When Standard & Poor's downgraded us, all right, was our borrowing rate higher or lower than it is now?
It's probably the same.
No, it's lower. We're paying less in interest now.
But what happened?
And by the way, one of the reasons one of the reasons S&P downgraded us was because Republicans held the debt ceiling hostage.
Oh, come on.
No, that was actually in their report. They said that. That's not my opinion.
There was thoughts of downgrading us before that negotiation went on.
No, that was one of the specific reasons mentioned in the report. That's not opinion. Okay. That's not something I wish were true. It's fact.
What's the interest we're paying now?
What is it, 1.5%?
Okay, what happens if it goes up to 5 or 6%? Does that wipe out everything we're talking about?
It changes it, but no, it doesn't wipe out everything we're talking about. I mean, we can only talk about what is happening now, and it is irresponsible.
Simpson Bowles was based on everything, but the Obama health care plan, that wasn't even included in Simpson Bowles.
Why? Because that's a deficit reducer.
So if you get to a situation where the interest goes up to 5, 6, 7% because of our downgrades, that wipes out the whole Simpson Bowles program because they're basing that on numbers that is, is not going to jive with what they're going to be paying in extra interest.
Okay, but why aren't we dealing with the interest rate we're paying now? Why aren't we borrowing more money? I mean,
according to what
Frank, if I could give you like $10,000 now, all right, that will be worth $8,000 in 5 years, just to pull them. Would you take it?
No, I don't want to trade $10 bills for $1 bills.
If I'm going to give you $10,000, that'll be worth $8,000. You have to pay back $8,000 in a few years.
You mean you give me $8,000 additional, or you're trading me? I'm trading you $10 for $8.
I'm giving you $10 in exchange for $8.
You're giving me $10.
Yes, that's what happens when you can borrow, and that's if you just kind of sit on it. Now, hold on. Imagine, all right, you could actually invest that money. All right, do something other than stuff it in your mattress.
But are we borrowing for every dollar we spend in this country? It used to be, I heard 40 cents on the dollar.
About 40 cents, yeah.
I've now heard it's up to 46 cents on the dollar. So
that
to pay on the interest on our national debt, we're borrowing 40 cents at least of the money to pay on the interest.
But we're getting our money, Frank, at the lower than the rate of inflation, which is already very low, by the way. I know the gold sellers and the survival seed bank people tell you, oh, rapid inflation, just around the corner, just around the corner. It's been just around the corner for 5 years now. Guess what? 5 years from now, it's going to be just around the corner. Those people are looking to peddle you a product. In this case, instead of spills on your carpet, buy a ShamWow. They're selling you, oh my God, you may suffer inflation.
Well,
they're disingenuous, dishonest pitchmen. It's all been downhill since Billy Mays kicked.
That's on both sides of the aisle. That's on both sides of the aisle because...
Okay, but Frank, here's the problem. You're buying into BS. Do you believe
No, I'm not.
Do you believe that Chuck Grassley is truly, deeply, in his heart of hearts, concerned about the debt and the deficit?
I don't know Chuck Grassley's heart.
Well, he certainly talks about it enough. Do you believe that his actions, his words, his speeches, all right, are in line with his true core beliefs and values?
I don't hear Chuck Grassley that much on the national stage. I tend to hear other people on the national stage.
You're not paying a lot of attention, and I use Chuck Grassley because he's a local, he's our
he's
senator.
our guy. But
who tweets like a 12-year-old
The
girl.
Democrats on the other side of the aisle haven't never met a spending program they don't like.
And why is government spending flat? Why is the deficit lower now? You're arguing with a version of Obama that you have created in your own head, or more likely, that has been created in your own head by media people who are lying to you.
Like I said before, I don't keep track of the deficit. All I know
it's down.
Is that the deficit is something that we are a shortfall yearly.
Okay, but it's down under
it's
down under $1 trillion, Frank.
But there hasn't. How can you judge a deficit when you haven't had a budget in so many 4 years?
Because budgets. How many dollars does a budget bill spend?
None, I suppose.
Exactly.
But
we're still spending through appropriations bill the same way we always have.
But what I'm saying is if you don't have a household budget.
We do. It's called a series of appropriation bills and continuing resolutions.
Right. But how are you supposed to know your shortfall when you don't even know what you're supposed to be spending?
Because we know how much we've spent and we know how much we're planning to outlay. We have appropriations committees, ways and means. We do, take care of these things. The trains continue to run.
I'm not an economist, but I'm smart enough to know this system is broken.
Well, you're half right.
Somebody needs to fix it.
So what's your solution to fixing it?
As I said before, I think a level-headed approach to where you cut some spending.
What spending do you want to cut? What spending do you want to cut?
I'm willing to cut military spending. I'm willing to do some stuff. I mean, I think this is the problem Rumsfeld ran into. Is he was sliding. If you remember in Iraq. And all the generals started coming out hounding on Rumsfeld. The majority of them was Army generals because the Army thought they was getting slighted in the whole Iraq war. Rumsfeld wanted to go in. He wanted to be mobile, fast, quick. He didn't want to be a mechanized army.
Rumsfeld wanted to rebuild the military to rely more on elite units and
That's
special
right.
forces.
And guess
because
what?
Because we're not going to, frankly, get in a tank battle with the Soviet
That's
Union.
right. That the future of warfare is not going to be a heavy mechanized battle. And Rumsfeld knew this, and he was trying to look into the future and start to trim our military in ways that would address this new...
Well, no, not trim, because, again, you understand it is a subsidy program for our defense contractors.
And guess what? Somebody pushed back.
Well,
So
yeah, there's
I'm
always
not
going to be
saying there's
resistance.
not waste. I'm not saying there's not waste in military
Waste,
spending.
fraud, abuse is the free space when it comes to government spending. I want 3 consonants and a vowel. All right? You get the RSTLNE. That's waste, fraud, abuse. But getting specific answers of what Republicans want to cut
And
is
Obama
like looking
himself-
for unicorn meat
and
and tooth
Obama
fairies.
himself admitted that there was fraud, waste, and abuse.
Okay,
And
but
then
that's
he
the
turned
free
around
space
and-
that everyone wants to cut. I'm asking for specific cuts, not just from you, but from Republicans in office.
Sure,
And by the way, they
I've
don't
heard-
exist. They won't give you real examples. It's part of
I've
the fundamental
heard you-
flaw of the Republican Party these days. They are absolutely incapable of action. They are only capable of
I've heard
reacting.
your comments about Steve King not wanting a committee shit because of whatever reason. I've heard your.
Well, what? But no. The reason is the important part. Why wouldn't Steve King want a seat on the Appropriations Committee when he's so concerned about spending?
Let me answer the question to you.
Why?
I don't know Steve King's mind. You're going to imply that because he didn't want his name next to something.
Correct.
But my question to you is, or my point to you is, my answer would be, the spending in this country should be what is of a benefit to everyone, not some.
Well, that's never been the case.
So if we build an interstate system that everybody uses, that's something that, I go along with what Jesse the Body Ventura said once when he was governor or running for governor. That
He ain't got time to bleed?
That the government should be involved in what benefits everybody, what one man can't do for himself. And what one man can do for himself, stay the hell out of it.
Great. Here's the problem. We don't agree on what the definition of that is. For example, do you believe that we all benefit from subsidizing the shrimping industry off of Galveston, Texas?
No, I don't.
Ron Paul does, which is why he's received millions of dollars for that. Now, is he right or is he wrong? That's up to the individual.
They're all going to fight.
By the way, is it a benefit to all of us to build a rainforest in central Iowa? Because deficit defender Chuck Grassley got federal money to do just that.
It's not in the benefit of everybody for corn subsidies and agriculture subsidies to this state.
Now, others disagree because it allows subsidized, cheaper food.
What we have in common...
We pay less at the grocery store.
What we all have in common is military spending to defend this country, interstate highway systems. Your property taxes and stuff should pay for your local police departments and your fire departments, your garbage collections and things like that people commonly agree on. But studies to research this, the mating habits of this, why this does this, why this does this, this is stupid spending.
So you believe that bulk science is a waste of money?
Funding the arts is not benefiting everybody. So the bottom
line... Most of America disagrees with you.
Get down to two things. The two big cows in the room is defense spending and entitlement.
Well, congratulations. I mean, Frank, you have just articulated the Republican position almost perfectly, which is, I'm all for spending I don't like, or I like, and I want to cut the spending I don't like. Way to go out on a limb there, Frank.
Look. I just got done telling you I think government should spend on what helps everyone.
Yes.
And when it comes to
government should spend money on things I like and not spend money on things I don't. I don't think this is a benefit for everyone. I don't think we should spend money on it.
Hey, I like free stuff as much as the
Congratulations.
But free stuff isn't free.
What free stuff are you discussing in this context,
I don't know.
Frank?
Health care.
Who's getting free health care, Frank?
The problem of it is somebody...
Stop. Who's getting free health care, Frank?
If I get it eventually, somebody else...
Stop. Who's getting free health care, Frank?
Pardon?
Who's getting free health care?
You answer the question.
No, you brought up the. You said you want free stuff. What free stuff were you referring to? You said free health care. Who's getting free health care, Frank?
You want the whole nation to be on universal health care.
Correct. Who says that's free?
They said this is a step towards it.
Who said it's free?
It's free to the person that's getting it, but it's not free to the people that have to pay for it.
How much overlap is there in the people that are getting it and the people paying for it?
You'll have to answer that question for me.
Now, you need to figure out an answer to that question, and then you will understand, hopefully, how wrong you are. All right, 205. I can only take the death blossom of half-baked talking points for so long. 244-0077. For those of you who were not afflicted by lead paint or mercury poisoning as a child, email radiobradshaw@gmail.com and follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. When we come back, I'd like to place a $9 bet on the 2014 elections. Maybe. And what keeps Republicans up late at night. And this time, it's not even gay people. That and more when we return. Here on the Bradshaw Show, Webcast 1 Live. Thanks for watching. Back right after this.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
It's time to start.
Rock concert movement number 1. The basic head bob. Ready, go.
And there I am. All right, 209 Bradshaw with you here on a day. Very excited. Only 3 near accidents on my way home yesterday. Look forward to what today brings. Wow, I've forgotten what a mess. I'm used to working in the suburbs, so I've forgotten what a mess, like state wrestling and basketball tournament time is. Just avoid the malls, avoid chain restaurants, and it's like, I don't, like maybe this can we do? Like, we have all these educational programs in our schools. There's the don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do? That. Um, can we put like how to drive in Des Moines? Maybe put it up in counselor's office throughout Keokuk and Spencer. Uh, like generally, again, if you drive down 235, you see like I don't know what county that plate is from. I've never heard of it before. All right, that's an out of towner, and we want to be a good host. Just realize that that person probably knows very well how to get to the Wells Fargo Vets complex and out. And anything out of that is an absolute mystery. So getting on and off interstates or traffic signals, things they're not used to in their hometown, do become a bit of a problem. So give some extra leeway and just expect the worst. A fun piece today. Greg Sargent in his plumb line at the Washington Post. Dems to use minimum wage against GOP in 2014. This was one of the planks laid out by the president in the State of the Union address. Probably something that's not going to be addressed this year because Republicans control the House of Representatives. It is an excellent trap to lay for 2014, however. And I know we might not like it, but hey, man, the process has started. And I think this is something you're going to see laid out, not just at the state level, but federal as well. You're going to see this in congressional races because the truth of the matter is we need all the aces up our sleeve we can get. For Democrats to win the House of Representatives, this is the power of redistricting. All right? Democrats, in general, need about a 7-point lead. All right, post-2010 gerrymandering. We have basically a 7-point handicap in winning back the House of Representatives. This would be a pretty decent way to do it. And I laid out the case yesterday of why the minimum wage doesn't kill jobs. And almost more to the fact that the Republicans can't put forth an argument that it does. I mean, when a journalist asks you to back up, your statement, and you're sending them articles from Forbes, I guess because your episode, your was lost, you don't have an argument. Meanwhile, study after study after study shows not only do job losses not happen, employment improves. For a very simple fact, 70% of our economy is consumer spending. When consumers have more money to spend, this is why there's such a positive return on investment for food stamps and unemployment benefits versus tax cuts, which just get squirreled away, and tax cuts for the rich, which have a effect on our economy other than lowering revenue and increasing the debt and the deficit, which, again, Republicans don't actually care about. Again, like most of the things we saw in the president's State of the Union address, very good job, again, trapping them between a rock and a hard place. Because it seems to have finally understood a very simple concept. I guess it can be hard to grasp that it's possible to actually happen in the United States, but we have a Republican Party that literally cannot act, can only react. Why do you think you keep seeing John Boehner say, Senate needs to, Senate needs to, Senate needs to, Senate needs to? Because he knows he can't get anything real past his own caucus. Sure, you can ban abortions that don't actually exist. You can rename post office. But if anything of any substance, he can't get it through his own party by himself. All he can do is get enough Democrats on board with the non-wingnut Republicans in the House. And that's not a very good plan for job security as a Republican Speaker of the House. He's stuck. But, like many issues, it's worse than you were led to believe. This is Ron Fournier in the National Review. Republican leaders worry their party could divide in two. Now, you're always going to get doom and gloom pieces like this. Go back 4 years, it was Dems in disarray and Pumas and stuff that generally turns out not to be true. Pumas were my favorite. The party unity, my ass. Literally, that's what it's. The belief, again, widespread enough to nominate Sarah Palin as VP that, forget single-issue voters, single-chromosome voters were the key to the 2008 election. If we can find someone without a Y chromosome to run, we'll pull all these female voters, and we'll be able to win the election. We need to find the highest-ranking female Republican with the correct set of views. The best they could do with Sarah Palin. Because obviously a bunch of, liberal Hillary supporters are going to jump to the Republican Party because someone with a uterus shows up. Yeah, that didn't work out so well now, did it? So you get articles like this all the time. Something caught my eye in this one. And it started, inside the cozy enclaves of GOP Boheme, hunkered at the tables of seen and be seen Washington restaurants, Republican leaders are sourly predicting a party-busting independent presidential bid by a Tea Party challenger like Senator Rand Paul in 2016. That's when the light bulb went off for me. It says, to them, the GOP apocalypse looms larger than most realize. Dueling State of the Union rebuttals and Karl Rove's assault on right-wing candidates are mere symptoms of an existential crisis that is giving the sturdiest Republicans heartburn. But it's not just Karl Rove going after wingnuts. No one seems to be paying attention to Haley Barbour because I guess he didn't have an election night meltdown live on Fox News, going after the Club for Growth. Club for Growth has been a breeding ground for absolutely horrible Senate candidates. And, I know, representatives too, but you have kind of, almost Orkin men at work at the GOP, trying to stamp out the Christine O'Donnells and Sharon Ingalls before they begin. And yeah, we do, like, literally, there's the Republican response and the Tea Party response. Only one involves massive amounts of water. And surprisingly, it wasn't the guy connected to Aqua Buddha. Who knew? And you can run down the list of reasons Republicans are in trouble. Not enough old white men, a.k.a. demographic change. Poor candidates, ideological rigidity, deplorable approval ratings, and a rift between social and economic conservatives. Well, that one's about to be won. Sorry, Bible beaters, you're about to get put at the kiddie table at the GOP. This is from one Republican wonk. And it sketched out a hypothetical scenario under which Rand Paul runs for the Republican nomination in 2016, loses after a solid showing in Iowa. And that's when the light bulb went off for me. And you got to realize we're about a year and a half away from real 2016 presidential aspirations. And if you've been paying any attention at all to the Iowa GOP, the story of the year, the theme of the year, is that it has been completely taken over at an operational level by again, Palestinians, Romulans, whatever we're Ron Paul people, from Chairman Spiker, many of his hires on down. You're a Ron Paul person? I didn't know you were racist. I kid. Now, at first, Ron Paul, who failed in his run for the nomination and gave up his House seat. Ron Paul is out of politics, and he can devote now 100% of his time to not writing racist newsletters. And you know how amazingly fleet-footed he can be when doing that. Isn't running for office anymore. So why would Ron Paul people? Then this isn't an all-encompassing, because libertarian thing. Because well, they have their own party. They had their own candidate. These are people who stuck with the GOP. And what sense is it, for Ron Paul people to take over the infrastructure of a party when Ron Paul's not running again? And it's not like their efforts have, dwindled since the end of the Ron Paul revolution. A Rand run. I know, part of the reason Ron Paul played such nice ball with Mitt Romney. Just go back and watch the debates, folks who actually study this stuff. Ron Paul was actually a very effective attack dog against Rick Perry and Michelle Bachmann and Rick Santorum, everyone pretty much, but Mitt Romney. Everyone knew Mitt Romney was going to be the nominee, so it only makes sense that if you wanted something from the party, if you wanted to play ball, well, he's the one to play ball with. There was never any talk of a third-party run. Why? And it's certainly not, ask the fine folks in Michigan. It's not like Republicans aren't above do what we want or your son's political career gets it. We've seen this before. He laid the path for the Republican Rand Paul. Now, Rand doesn't quite have the appeal of a Lyndon LaRouche or a Ron Paul. And yes, I put those two in very similar circumstances. But I could see him making a run for president. And would he do a third-party run? Well, that's $1 million question. It's not like they can hang his son's career over him. I don't know if they have any leverage. And certainly if you want to look at a... Ross Perot type of situation with them, not quite the same. But could that be, the final shatter point, with my apologies to Mace Windu, that breaks the GOP? That's what they're talking about here. Would Rand Paul go rogue? With my apologies to social media contributor Sarah Palin. I think he might. Yeah, and part of it depends on who else runs. Is 2016 the year that the Mitch Daniels and Jeb Bushes and Chris Christie's get off the couch and actually run, or is it going to be another B team afraid to go against Team Hillary? We know how Republicans get when confronted with a Clinton. One, they get very mad, and two, they generally lose. Would they jump? And I got to say, as a Democrat, God, please run under the Tea Party banner. In the 4 years that group of wingnuts, dissatisfied Republicans, and outright con men have been out. Again, they've done so much for their brand that they are literally less popular than socialism in the United States. Between sessions polling, when you get some weird, they poll, the idea of the United States going communist, which scores about 11 or 12%. Dick Cheney, which scores slightly higher. And a funny side effect to, well, Republicans labeling everything people like is socialism. It actually scores higher than Tea Party in favorability and likability polls. So please run under the Tea Party banner. Run under the Gadsden flag. So Hillary can moonwalk to the White House in 2016. But it'd be fun to watch the Republican Cold War turn hot. Especially with the purge of, now one Republican lawmaker called it a purge of a-holes. This is some of the young buck Republicans losing their committee seats. Others see it as a purge. If you're on the talk radio side of things, you see it as a purge of true conservatives. Again, one side says it's conservatives getting a punch. Other says it's a-holes. I think they're both right, but that's neither here nor there. It's just a matter of time when this Cold War turns hot, and I cannot wait. It will be so much fun. Because, again, I'm looking at, everyone predicted gloom and doom for 2014, but they predicted the same gloom and doom for 2012. Everyone and their mother thought, you go back a couple years, we were going to lose possibly the Senate. And to be fair, if the Republicans had actually ran electable candidates, we might have. Instead, they ran Tea Partiers, and Democrats have an even bigger majority in the House. It's that 7% handicap with the House. And I'm generally a pessimist. I am generally, I call it pragmatic. Some people call it, the glass isn't just half empty. The glass is cracked, and I believe there's some arsenic in the water. But I definitely see the potential for that perfect storm. Dissatisfied social conservatives, as the Republicans learn that those wedge issues that they've used so effectively for years are now an anchor. It's news now when AJ Spiker stands up and says, "We are the one man, one woman marriage party." Well, that's a loser now. Putting saddles on dinosaurs is not an election winner anymore. Believing that dinosaur bones were put there to test our faith by Satan. Not, again, those issues work pretty well when times are good. Not so much when times are bad and people don't have the luxury to worry about fake controversies. But when I see, again, the Republican old standbys falling by the wayside, and no real new issues. The only real success Republicans have had in the last 5 years, because I don't give them a lot of credit for the 2010 election. That was our bad. But was getting Democrats to, cower along with their debt deficit dance routine. If that fever breaks, sky's the limit. Dissatisfied fundies, a third-party Tea Party rot, at the very least a Republican establishment that tells the Tea Parties, "Niet." The president playing, political jujitsu. I think we're going to get a very good preview in 2014. Can House Democrats use real liberal base issues to beat Republicans over the head with? And there's help. Just real quick before I have to go here, but as we once again come to the fiscal cliff, seeing a very loud and very out left-wing coalition, Alan Grayson, and a number of other members of Congress. Groups like the National Nurses Union, United Electrical Radio and Machine Workers of America. Isn't that the union Sean Hannity belongs to? Groups like Move On, Credo, Progressive Change Campaign, pushing, no, we're not going to play ball. We're not going to cut Social Security. We're not going to cut Medicare. We're going to argue for expansions of Medicaid, and we're going to prove to the Governor Brandstads of the world that it's a good deal for the state. Again, the Democratic Party isn't perfect. It has a lot of, again, foundational issues. But is our only hope. Because right now it's the only party that is affected by something other than crazy people. We have a Republican Party that is completely incapable of action. They have painted themselves into such a corner. It's the game of Minesweeper, and every spot's a 4. They can't go anywhere. They can only react in outrage as Democrats act. Well, so we're forced to act. Are we going to put together good policy and good politics, or are we going to play the same old game? This is by no way, by the way, a prediction that we will. Never underestimate Democrats' ability to miss an opportunity, to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. But the pieces are on the table. We're set up for it. Now, can we pull it off? Time and many phone calls and letters to your representatives will tell. Certainly the Dave Lobsacks of the world wearing their, no labels pins isn't a good start, because we should be wearing labels, and it should say, not a Republican. And we should be loud and proud about that. And if we do, we'll win. If we do it well, we'll win big. All right, I got to bounce. Email, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. And if I die in a fiery cataclysm on my way home tonight, blame the wrestling tournament. See you tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. Go to thebradshawshow.com for all the contact info and show archives and all that stuff. We'll see you again tomorrow on Webcast 1 Live. Thanks for watching. See you then.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Do you ever get tired of pretending that life is perfect? If what they see isn't how you feel, God knows, and He understands. Chat now with someone who cares at groundwire.net.